So JET stands for Japan Exchange Teaching, but it's called the JET program for short. It's a program through the Japanese government where they pay you to teach in Japanese public schools from elementary school to high school. Sometimes some other specialty schools. And generally you teach as an assistant language teacher, helping out a native Japanese teacher of English. In other words, the person is a Japanese person that teaches English in like a Japanese high school. Myself, my situation, I was in 5 high schools in a small prefecture called Yamaguchi Prefecture. So I lived in a small town teaching at 5 high schools in several different towns there. So I took the train to these different high schools in different towns, and then I would teach Japanese with different Japanese teachers in each place, which was really cool because you got different students in each place, different teachers that collaborated differently in each place. We can't go back to the village because we have to do this trial. Block 9? I don't even know about blocks, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I was in Yamaguchi, which means I was near Brentwood, because Brentwood was in Hiroshima, which is next door to Yamaguchi. In the south of Japan, right at near Kyushu. The westernmost point of Honshu, the main island. Any other questions about JET or living in Japan now that we're got a couple JET people here for a few minutes before we end stream? Anyone else in chat have any questions about living in Japan or teaching in Japan? Now is the time to ask those questions. Let's run around, because this game's so beautiful anyway. Might as well run around and talk for a couple minutes just to enjoy this scene. So Brett says, I was the block leader in 2016. You didn't happen to be there around then? No, I was not there at that time, a bit before that. Very cool, though, that you were the leader of something called a block. I'm guessing that means a block of prefectures, which is very cool. I also learned that now the JET program, I think, will like reimburse you for taking costs for the JLPT test. I think when I was there, I never heard of that. I feel like that might be new. When I was in Japan for 2 years, the second year I took JLPT N2 and passed it. And that's really when I improved the most in Japanese in my life. Because I just studied Japanese for 9 months straight. Went from N5 to N2 in essentially 9 months. In other words, I kind of got good at the test and good at like vocab and kanji. Still wasn't fully N2 probably, but I mean, I passed it pretty comfortably, so I could read well enough. All it took was just tons of Japanese flashcards, tons of Japanese reading and practice tests for the test. Watching Japanese TV every day, immersion every day. It's a lot of fun, actually. So, yeah, within the past 3 years, yeah, that's what I kind of thought, because they did not have that when I was there. I'm glad you know about that stuff. Tokyo is obviously more expensive than other places. True, true. Where I was in the smaller town, it was pretty affordable. Plus, I think my school paid half of my rent for my apartment. I had some friends, they paid all of their rent. Other friends I had who, like, had to pay all of their own rent. Plus, sometimes for the people for their apartment have to pay like $2,000 or something in something called key money that you never get that money back. Which really sucks, but it's kind of a Japanese thing. I was a prefectural JET. I had to pay key money, $2,000. My girlfriend at the time, she did not have to pay key money, which was lucky because she did not have the money to pay it. It's different for everyone on JET. So Autumn Moon says, is JET between Japan and US only, or Japan and the rest of the world? Good question. It's Japan and all English-speaking countries. So in my prefecture, it was really cool because I got to know people from the US, but also people from England, Scotland, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and all those people hang out all the time, which is very, very cool. Like, I had some friends from Scotland that were hilarious. Good question. Brett says, love it, man. Sorry to take over chat. It's completely fine. Just awesome to talk with you about something so nostalgic. Yeah, I completely agree. Might as well make that the theme for a little while. Because JET program, for you and me at least, was a very important experience in our lives. And like in the year before I went, or a couple years before I went, I would love to hear firsthand from people who did it and what they have to say. I had friends who did other programs too in Japan, teaching English, like I think Nova's one, I think Interac is one. And it seems like in general, people who do JET have a bit better job experience overall, but a lot of those people had a great time too. So it's not the only option if you want to teach English in Japan. Of course, there's other options for other jobs in Japan as well, like programming and other types of jobs. Often for those jobs, though, you do need Japanese at a pretty decent level. Autumn Moon says, does one have to be a qualified English teacher? Good question. I believe all you need is a 4-year college degree. Yep, like Bredward says there. And you don't need to know Japanese. It might help in the application process, but most people I knew there, when they arrived, spoke no Japanese. Even when they left, most of them spoke very little Japanese. To be honest, even if you live in Japan for a year or two, it's very easy to learn almost nothing. Especially on JET, because often all your friends are English speakers. So on the weekends you go to parties and things, everyone speaks English. So JET is a 1-year renewable contract, and Brett can maybe update you, but when I did it, it was 1 year renewable up to 5 years. Most people at the time did 3 years, or 2 years, or 1 year. So it's a 1-year renewable contract. A few people I knew, for some reason, had a bad experience. That was rare. And they leave after a month or two, because they quit. But in general, people would be there for a year, or 2. I was there for 2. Brentward was there for 5. Okimijan says, were you discouraged to speak Japanese to the students? Not really. I mean, yeah, you want to speak English as much as you can, because that's how you learn a language, and that's what you're there for. But really, it can be helpful to speak some Japanese too, I found. And people who have a lot of Japanese would use a lot of Japanese too, especially outside of class. For example, I would take the train or the bus and be surrounded by students, my students, or students from other schools, and I would just talk to them every day, mostly in Japanese. Yeah, you can have a degree in anything. Okay, so the Board of Education has to request you stay after 3 years? Interesting. Is there an age limit? Not really. I think there used to be kind of a... Is it really, though? I thought that older people can maybe apply now. But, okay, so up to 40 is the limit right now? Interesting. Did not know that. I think that they might be more lenient on that now. I think that possibly the age requirement is relaxed now. They're getting rid of the requirement this year. Good to know. Well, Bredward, you're quite knowledgeable about JET. I guess it makes sense considering you were a block leader in Japan. By the way, what is that block? How many prefectures were you in control of all those hundreds of English teachers? By the way, Brett, did you play any sports when you were there? Because I was on a prefectural soccer team. So we would play against the other English teachers' soccer teams from all around Japan. We would do tournaments in different prefectures playing soccer. Frank, yokoso. Japanese quest to it. 5 prefectures. You had a lot of questions. Very cool. You did Ultimate Frisbee. Awesome. Soccer was really, really cool, I thought. Konnichiwa. So I think this is our like mom in the game. So of course she's saying, "Ganbatte, ganbatte ne. Do your best."